Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Curry, and this is episode 2 of the Baldwin Wallace Sports Management Podcast. My friend Ryan Klinger had the opportunity to interview starting Baldwin Wallace quarterback Joey Marousek on his thoughts on the football season and the upcoming game against Mount Union this weekend.
So, Joey, you've been having your best year at quarterback this year. What have you changed to be able to take that next step?
I think the biggest thing for me and the rest of the offense was really the amount of work that we were able to put in over the summer together. We got together every Thursday and Sunday and got routes in, installed our offense throughout the summer. So we weren't coming into camp cold. We were kind of coming into camp hitting the ground running, and developing that chemistry with a lot of the new guys and all the guys that were coming back was really vital for us as an offense. And it was great to be able to lift with those guys over the summer. And just be able to get a lot of work in throughout those 8 to 10 weeks that we had to get ready when we got here on August 8th.
And speaking of you having some success this year, you spent 2 years at Akron University and then shifted over to Baldwin Wallace. What differences at BW changed your play and abilities?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful for the time that I had at Akron. I was able to develop a lot through my body, had a great strength and conditioning program there, so I was really able to get stronger. With the coaches that we had there, was able to run the scout team for the 2 years that I was there, so that was great to be able to go against the Division I defense and work against those guys. But coming here then, I was really just excited to get live reps and go against the first team defense here. With the first team offense, I got very, very limited reps with the first team offense at Akron, but coming here and getting an opportunity to play with guys who play the game at a really high level here at BW as well, and in the OAC everybody plays the game at a really high level. So, just being able to get really consistent reps, having confidence in my abilities and in the abilities of my teammates as well has really led to the success that we've had.
And for anybody who watches the games, they know that you're not afraid to put your head down and run the football. How does that help with the mantra between you and your teammates? Yeah,
it's something that I've always prided myself on, not just being a drop-back quarterback that's going to stand back there for a long time and take a bunch of sacks. So, last year struggled a little bit with the turnovers, interceptions, and stuff like that. So going into this year, really wanted to limit that and been able to improve on that immensely this year. And sometimes that means just instead of trying to force the ball in there, tucking it and running and getting as many yards as you can. And like you said, I don't like sliding very much. I don't like getting out of bounds. I like trying to get that extra yard, and it does fire the guys up when they see that the quarterback's willing to go out there and lay his shoulder on the line for the team, especially because we're the only ones that don't get hit during practice. So a lot of the times our teammates don't get to see how physical we truly are. So when it comes game day and we're able to put our bodies on the line and lower our shoulders and get that extra yard, it definitely helps to fire the team up, and something I love doing.
Yeah, last game you came into the fourth quarter and one play immediately made an impact with a big 30-yard rush. How were you able to come in and then make that immediate impact?
Yeah, it was an interesting game, real tough game, back and forth. It's always a physical game with Heidelberg. I was able to come in that play, and I knew it was coming. My teammates were keeping my head up. I knew I just kept telling myself, if I get a chance, it may not be very many chances. So I got to go out there and do something right away. And my number got called in the fourth quarter there, and I was able to follow my blockers. O-line had an unbelievable play, pushing guys back. Jonah Schrock, tight end, came around, pulling through the hole and led the way for me. Receivers were blocking their butts off on the outside, on the perimeter, that whole third and fourth quarter. So my teammates really just put me in a really good position to go make a play, and we were able to get into scoring range. And Dirk running his butt off too, and George Lindberger running his butt off. And I was really grateful that I was able to make a huge impact play, and then put Joe Evans in a good position and let him do his thing to bang through that game-winning field goal. So yeah, it was definitely a really awesome play, good memory.
And final question. So last year, obviously a heartbreaking loss. What is your mindset? What is the team's mindset going into this huge game Saturday against Mount Union?
Yeah, we just finished up our first practice for the week, and I thought it was a really awesome atmosphere that both the offense and the defense were showing. Obviously we got that in the back of our mind. What happened last year, it's basically been burned into our brains ever since it happened. We've talked about it since then, and we've worked towards towards not letting that happen again and just putting together a full 4 quarters. We above me has been our mantra the entire year. And we're just going out there to play for each other. We're not going to be going to the playoffs this year, but that doesn't mean we don't have everything to play for on Saturday. They're going to be hungry too. They're going for another 10-0 season, so we know they're not going to just lay down and let us have whatever we want. So we got to be ready to go, be fired up, and really play for each other. And that's the biggest thing, just playing for your teammates, the guys who aren't going to be here next year, the guys who are going to be here next year. Every time you're able to put the pads on, it's truly a blessing because you don't know when it's going to be taken away from you, or when it's going to be that last time that you're going to be able to strap it up with the guys that you've worked out with at 6 a.m. in the morning all throughout the winter and then all throughout the summer, putting in that work. It's truly a blessing to be able to make it through the season and get to a game where you're playing against a team that is going to be playing for a national championship. So you want to go out there and show that you belong and that you can take them to the wire and you can beat them. So we're fully going in there expecting to win the game, and I wouldn't want anything less from any of my teammates.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Obviously, great to talk to Marousek for the big game. And speaking of the big game, let's talk about it. Huge game against number 1 team in the OAC, Mount Union. Last year, heartbreaking loss. And I talked to Joey about it. Said that's basically been living in their minds over the whole year. What do you guys think about this upcoming game for Baldwin Wallace?
It's going to be a tough one for sure. Last year, heartbreaker. I mean, that was extremely tough for us, but we've proven resiliency throughout the season, so I think we're going to come back and hopefully get a chance. I mean, going to get a chance any given Saturday, so we're definitely going to get a chance. And Roby, how do you feel?
It's going to be a really tough game. Definitely a must win just to get those guys' confidence up. But that Mount Union game is always going to be a tough game, no matter what year it is.
Always. They always tend to bring the studs in.
Yeah, I mean, top team in the country for Division III football, so it's huge that Baldwin Wallace plays them every year. And we've been talking about college football, talk a little bit about D3. It's obviously going to be really exciting this weekend. For everybody who wants to go, it's going to be at Alliance at Mount Union, so make sure you go to support. Let's talk about Division I college football, and I'm going to start off with a question for you guys. Right now in the college football playoff, the top 4 are Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State. 5 is Washington. When it's all said and done, who is going to be that 4th team? I feel like Michigan, Ohio State, and Georgia are pretty much locks because the loser of the Michigan-Ohio State game will probably still make it. Who do you think is going to be the 4th team? Florida State or Washington?
I think it will be whoever wins that Pac-12 championship game will kind of slide into that 4th spot.
So you're saying Florida State, regardless of winning the ACC, doesn't matter?
If Florida State wins out, they're in. I think it's going to come down to whoever wins the Big Ten will take it. And then I think it's going to be the conference champions this year. Actually, whoever wins the SEC, if Florida State wins the ACC as they should, whoever wins the Pac-12, and whoever wins the Big Ten.
So you're saying that even if Ohio State loses to Michigan, do you think they're done? That's it. You think it'll be Florida State and Washington?
They'll definitely need some help.
So barring a Florida State or Washington loss, basically only one of Michigan or Ohio State is going.
Big game. The game is what.
I mean, the game is truly. I mean, the last couple years, we've seen the game go from not just being a huge rivalry between the two teams to being on a national level. As you know, last couple of years, Harbaugh's made that program into a powerhouse now. After years of kind of floundering around, and now it's going to be really interesting. And of course, there's all the scandalous activities going on, and it's going to be very intriguing to see how that game goes on. What, 2 weeks?
2 weeks. 2 weeks. So that's going to be coming up. I think it's right after Thanksgiving. So that's going to
I think everybody's going to be. We're going to be on break when that hits.
It's going to be a fun one to watch after Thanksgiving. But definitely agree with Roby. Feel like the last one that's going to get in is wins the game right there.
So you're saying you guys don't think Florida State or Washington's going to drop another game?
If they drop another game, I feel like you automatically lose almost by name default. Losing like if you have a not 10-1 Michigan team or a 10-1 Ohio State team, I feel like it has more than one of those undefeated teams. So I think the name brand brings you along a little bit. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think if they went out, I think it'll be Florida State, Washington, Georgia, and then the winner of Michigan, Ohio State.
Interesting.
I don't think Florida State should lose, but that ACC championship game, which should be against Louisville, that's going to be an interesting game. I would not count Louisville out. And if they pull off that win, I think Florida State's out, and it could get really interesting with who the committee wants to put in, either Florida State with a 1 loss, either Ohio State and Michigan with a 1 loss, or if Oregon wins, then you have a 1-loss Washington as well.
No doubt. I mean, Florida State even had some growing pains with Pitt last week, and couldn't tell. Pitt is, with all respect to Pitt, Pitt is not good. So they putting up, struggling and having some growing pains against Florida State is definitely concerning to me.
Well, I want to rewind it back real quick to last year. Do you guys remember TCU, went into the college football playoff, even though they lost the Big 12 championship? You remember that overtime loss?
Yeah.
Kansas State,
Yeah.
TCU? I just want to toss that out there. We've seen that happen before.
There was a crazy scenarios that last year with everybody losing. Felt like that last conference championship week.
No doubt. It was definitely came down to the wire. You don't want to come close. If you're Florida State and Washington and we're talking about being on the fringe, you can't even come close with one of those games. Like, you got to continue to win handily to be able to jump in over into Michigan or Ohio State, because like Ryan said, if they win, they got the name brand on them, and if Florida State Washington catches a close one, they might even drop out for Michigan or Ohio State after the game.
Let's not overlook this Georgia Ole Miss game here this week, though. That could be critical for Georgia, especially if Ole Miss comes out and catches them by surprise.
Truth. I agree.
So I do want to ask, I know Ryan Curry, especially being a big Ohio State guy, Roby also an Ohio State fan, playing against Michigan State this weekend, really no concern, correct?
You say that, but I feel like there's one team every year that trips up against a team. So everyone's been talking about, we talked about last week, okay, get to Michigan, we got to worry about Michigan. I need to see a performance put together. We need to beat Michigan State, need to be out of that game by the third quarter, maybe halftime. I mean, this game shouldn't be close. Got to be a handle. Got to be one that we prepare for and definitely don't overlook. We can't be, okay, Michigan is in 2 weeks, let's look to Michigan. Definitely got to worry about Michigan State, and don't overlook them. Can't underestimate what they got, because I feel like there's one team every year that slips up and they end up missing a big opportunity.
Roby just nodding in agreement. Roby's like, yeah.
I don't got much more to add to that.
Don't want to lose a game like that. Simple as that. Just can't lose a game like this.
I feel like in the past, there's a lot of times always that one game that Ohio State just slips.
Comes to bite you. Absolutely.
You got the Virginia Tech game way back when.
Don't remind me.
Now I'm going to ask one last question, just simple yes or no. If Ohio State goes undefeated, is Marvin Harrison Jr. a Heisman? Roby?
Yes.
I would think he should be a Heisman finalist, at least.
I think Marv is good enough himself, but I'd love to listen to one of you guys that says that has a stronger case for him. And the only thing that I think really people can pull out is quarterback, and they got Penix from Washington as the front runner, but I really think Marv should take it this year.
I think if Ohio State can beat Michigan, I think Harrison can get it done. But if they lose, I think then it might end up going to McCarthy.
Yeah, McCarthy or Penix.
McCarthy or Penix, definitely. All right, so that was a good talk about some college football. We're going to shift it over. I interviewed backup quarterback Ben Hughes, who's a sport management major here at Baldwin Wallace, and got to talk to him a little about football, also talked to him about Mount Union game a little bit, and then also about his major and how being an athlete affects his outlook on sport management. So, Ben, you've been on the team for 4 years. How have things changed over that time?
I feel like this year especially, just like the unity with the team is just, and like the culture of the team is really good. That's something that obviously in the first year when I was here with COVID, that was really not able to happen because everybody was separated in little tiny groups. You could only work with about 10 people at a time, so it wasn't really much bonding there. And then I don't know what it is about this year and this year's team. I know especially in the quarterback room, this is the tightest we've ever been. We're always hanging out with each other outside of football too. And I think it's something that's obviously helps on the field. It just, when you're like even tighter like with your brothers off the field, it makes you play better as a whole because you actually care for them and they're not just your teammate. Like they're actually someone that you care for. That's just what I've noticed this year compared to other years.
And the team is currently 4-0 since the bye week. So what did you guys change to be on the streak?
I think over the bye week, we just really focused on getting better every single day. I know Coach Hovert's motto was Win-tober. That was what he said to us all week. He wanted to win every game in October, put us in a position to close out the end of the year on a high note. And I feel like we did that after the bye, we've just been executing a lot better. I feel like over that time, we really looked at we took a look in the mirror and like decided what we needed to change and really focused on that over the bye week and going into the games upcoming, like after the bye week. And I just feel that we've really been clicking and we're just getting better each day, and that's really showing over these last 4 weeks.
And speaking of this week, their last game of the year against Mount Union, what's the team's mindset going into that big game?
We're just going to do just like how we have taken every game this year. It's all about us. We, as a team, feel like we haven't put together a full 60 minutes of football on all three phases. So we're just going in this week. Obviously, Mount Union's a great team, and they're the number 2 ranked team in the country. They're a national powerhouse. So we want to go in. We know that this team's very good, but we're going to worry about us and do everything we can to come out with a win here. And I think a big thing is not being intimidated by Mount. I think a lot of teams go into the game like thinking, "Oh, we're going to lose." Like, "Oh, it's Mount Union, we're going to lose." And before they even kick the ball off, it's and then before they even kick the ball off, like, "Oh, we're going to lose." And then once Mount gets that first big play, or it's like, "Oh, here we go, we're going to get blown out." We didn't have that mindset last year, and so far this week we haven't had that at all. We're going to go in and we're going to take care of us and see what happens from there.
So going with a winning mindset. Is what
Yeah.
you're saying. Now we want to toss back to 2 weeks ago against Capital. You came in late game and threw a touchdown pass to senior Brian Norman, and the fans went absolutely crazy. Brian had a championship belt. Can you run me through everything that went on there?
Well, obviously, I think the big part about that is that was my first ever pass attempt, and that was Brian's first ever catch. So, I mean, obviously that was something we've been waiting for like Brian's 5 years here, my 4 years here was just getting an opportunity to make a play. And obviously when I took the field, we're obviously up big. I thought we were just going to run the ball a few times, run the clock out. And then we got backed up to 4th and 10, and after we called a timeout, we went over to the sideline, and coach was like, he was like dialing up a pass play. And I knew the play, I knew the coverage, and as soon as I caught the snap, I knew it was going to be a touchdown just based off what they're in and what play call we had. So, and it was just like any other throw for me. I just threw it out there, and Brian ran under it and caught it. Obviously, everyone went crazy because obviously Norm's a huge part of this team. He's been part of this team for 5 years now, and it was great that it went to him, and I'm just really happy for him that he got his first touchdown.
Yeah, it was a great moment. It was also on the Parents and Families Week, too, so it was a great way to come back after a bit of an away game stretch for you guys.
Yeah, it was great. Both my parents were there. My brother plays on the team, so he was there. It was the first game that my uncle and cousin came to, and I just thought it was great that I got the chance to go in there and I got a chance to make a play.
No, that's great. Now I want to shift over one final question for you. So, how does being a student athlete at Baldwin Wallace change your perspective on being the part of sports management club?
Because obviously in sport management club and even within the sport management major, we're all focused on getting a job within sports. And being an athlete really gives you a different perspective on it, because I want to go into college coaching after I graduate. So obviously being a college football player really gives me, like, I know how it goes. I know I know how college athletics work. So that's been a huge advantage for me. And I know for other people who don't want to go into the coaching route, it's a big thing. Because like we talk about how our sport management club has all these different connections, opportunities, and you can build connections and like build your network. And through athletics, that's even another network that you can have, because even if someone's not a sport management major, there could be an alumni who works in something that you want to do. And because you played football at BW, for example, and they did 20 years ago, they could be like, "Oh, I want to hire him. He played football at BW. He went through what I went through." So I think that's a big part of what being an athlete helps. Obviously, it adds your network, and this isn't just for sport management. This is for any major, I think.
All right, thank you.
Right.
So let's shift over now to, we started at Division III football. We moved it up to D1 football. Now we're in NFL football. If you guys are dying to talk about Division II football, we'll have to do that another time. So first thing I want to ask you about for NFL, is it safe to say the Dolphins were posers? Losing last week to the Chiefs. Week before that, they got a win, but they have yet to beat a team with a winning record in over a year.
You know, I listened to one of our fellow sports management members, one of our good friends, actually someone we had on the podcast, and they were talking about how Mike McDaniel's on the hot seat. I thought it was crazy. But looking after this, Maddie's not wrong. You look back and you look at all the Dolphins games, and they beat like the Giants, the Patriots twice. They honestly have not beat anyone good.
No, she was right. She like called this. It was actually crazy.
All of us thought it was crazy.
We all were looking at each other during the recording booth like, okay, I guess that's a hot take, but all right. And then look at it now.
Put it together. They beat the Panthers, they beat the Giants, they beat the Broncos, they beat the Chargers, and they beat the Patriots.
And those are all teams that are vying for like number 1 pick spot.
And they lost to the Bills, Eagles, and Chiefs. They haven't beat a good team yet.
Yeah, it's crazy. She hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And everybody when we recorded that 2 weeks ago, everybody was at the, oh my gosh, Mike McDaniel, oh my gosh, Mike McDaniel. And she was the only one to call him out and say he's not that good. And I mean, her take aged like wine. Excellent take from Maddie.
Like wine. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's definitely something to be concerned about with the Dolphins. So
I just don't know where you go from here when you're Miami, because you're kind of all in on the team you have. And I don't think there's really a clear way to improve other than just fixing the defense. And that's not, we've seen it before with teams. With defense, it's kind of weird. It's just kind of, sometimes remember Washington in 2020 had one of the best defenses. They turned around in 2021, had one of the worst. Sometimes it just clicks and sometimes it doesn't. The Browns this year have one of the best defenses. Does that mean they will next year? Who knows? It's really just streaky every year.
It's a lot of turnover with coordinators and offensive coaches. Like, you see how many offensive coordinators get snagged up off other teams, and that's tough. It sets your whole system back. So
yeah.
For the Browns to essentially lose a guy like Jim Schwartz to go to a head coaching position, that would be absolutely massive for them. So it's just turnover in the NFL looking for better jobs, but it's tough.
On that note, though, I do think if a team wants to hire a new coach this offseason, Schwartz would have to be near the top of the list.
As a Steelers fan, I take him. By all means, take him. He's been great this year. So by all means, I'd love an NFL team to hire him off the Browns, because that Browns defense has been elite this year, no doubt.
I mean, you got Mike Tomlin. I think you're set for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. Just got to extend Matt Cannon and we'll be good.
Oh, I would love for you to extend Matt Canada. Please do. That being said, there's a lot of coaches that are great coordinators, but aren't always great head coaches. Like Jim Schwartz did not have a great stint as a head coach with the Lions, with a final record of 29-47 as a head coach, but proves when he's a defensive coordinator that he's a GOAT.
Great defensive coordinator.
If there was a Coordinator of the Year award, he would be locked in.
Yeah. Easily.
He's completely turned that team. I mean, I think without the Browns having this much of a dominant defense, I don't think they would be in conversation for the next question I'm going to ask, which is, we've been talking about it for like 4 years now. Is this the year that every AFC North team makes the playoffs? Because if the playoffs started today, that would happen.
It would be something crazy. I look at the playoff picture, and I think there's actually an opportunity. The only dark horse you could see sneaking in is the Bills, but I feel like the Bills have been struggling. I think, honestly, all three teams have a really good chance. And I would love for all three AFC North teams to go in and beat a couple teams up. I think it could happen. I could see one of us go into Miami. We talk about Miami's offensive struggles. I feel like one of us could beat up Miami. Jacksonville, the Steelers played Jacksonville a couple weeks ago. A couple balls didn't roll our way, but I honestly think they're a very beatable team. And then the other one's going to be going into Cincinnati or Baltimore, which AFC North play. That can always, one bounce decides the entire game. So, I would love to get all four teams in. I would love for three AFC North teams to beat up on the bigger teams. Like, I'd love to see the Browns or Steelers go up, beat up Miami. Browns or Steelers go up, beat up Jacksonville. That would be good for the division.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's very possible for everyone in that division to make the playoffs. Like, looking around at the AFC, besides the division leaders, there's really nobody in there that worries me as a Browns fan. No. You got the Chargers, the Bills.
I'm not worried about the Chargers. I'm not worried about the Raiders.
I'm not worried about the Bills.
The Bills continue to have health problems. Guys getting hurt left and right for them. Really, I think the only team that I would say is if somehow the Texans just sort of do an absolute black magic.
I was about to say that.
They're
going to be the Texans or the Bills going to get that last spot.
The Texans have become my favorite team to Sunday ticket, other than the Ravens. I like watching Lamar, but
Stroud's a baller.
Can anyone catch him at this point when it comes Rookie of the Year? He had potentially what is
No.
the greatest rookie quarterback performance I think I've ever seen.
No, he. I mean, if you're drafting Caleb Williams #1 overall, you're looking to be everything that C.J. Stroud was on Sunday. So I feel like that's the best you could get. And everyone thought it would be Bryce. Even I even thought Bryce was going to be great, but no one really thought C.J. was going to be this good.
No, I hated on Stroud as a Panthers fan. I thought Bryce was the guy. I think Bryce still is very good, but he's going to have he's got a lot of room to work to be as good as C.J. As C.J. just broke the single game record for rookie passing yards of 470, 71.4% completion, and 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, resulting in 147.8 passer rating. That's an incredible game for any elite quarterback, let alone a rookie quarterback. So that was and he leads them down fourth quarter, 45 seconds left in the game. I made a joke. I was Sunday ticketing the game. Said to one of my buddies, they left too much time on the clock for C.J. Stroud, and then he genuinely brought him down the field and won him the game.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. He's a stud. I saw a stat the other day. There's been a bunch of the rookie quarterbacks have been showing out this year between all the starters. I mean, you got the big five. You got Bryce. You got CJ. You got Anthony Richardson, who was balling before his injury. You got Will Levis. And who was that? Who was the other guy that got drafted in that? I feel like there was one other guy. But then you got like Dorian Thompson-Robinson was starting games. You got Jaron Hall starting games. You got Clayton Tune starting games. There's just like a bunch of rookie quarterbacks.
We don't talk about DTR.
We don't talk about DTR.
But I will say
that rookie quarterbacks playing this year.
The first 4 off the board have all done pretty well. I think Bryce's issues, as somebody who watches every Panthers game, which I'm starting to. It's rough on my mental health watching every Panthers game, but. Bryce's problems is there's not a very good O-line or receivers. Really, Thielen gets the ball every play because he's the only one that's super quality. And Richardson was really balling out. And then now Stroud. I think Stroud's going to become the new Herbert, where it's like the cool thing to say how good he is.
Yeah.
Except I think he's already got a better coach and supporting cast.
Hopefully.
So
I'd love the Texans to give him a true #1. I feel like Nico Collins and Tank Dell have been good, but I would love to see him with the #1 guy.
I think the Chargers have a very strong receiving core, but the rest of the team doesn't really pop off the page that much.
I agree. I feel like the Chargers just kind of struggle. They lost Mike Williams to the torn ACL.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Quentin, but
he's been struggling.
He's not been killing it. Like to me, I'm like.
I was expecting a lot more from Quentin this year.
Me too. Coming out of TCU, he looked like a stud. I mean, I'm just saying, when you think about it, I think Stroud when I watch him, it kind of does remind me of Herbert, the way he's very comfortable in the pocket like that. He can make big plays, which I never would have said in college. He's completely killed it in the league. And I already think he's got a very good coach in DeMeco Ryans. I always say if you're going to hire somebody, hire him from the Niners. It works. It's consistently. I mean, I'm a huge Shanahan guy. Vinny LeMayo and I one time talked in the parking lot for an hour and a half about Kyle Shanahan. It was a great conversation. But you got to think with the Texans, I think they might be kind of sliding into that spot we thought that the Chargers were going to be a couple years ago, with the exciting young QB, exciting receiving core, and great coaching to lead them deep in the playoffs. And I think the Texans might be coming for that spot that we thought the Chargers were going to be around this time.
Yeah, I think the Texans are the one team, the one wild card spot that the AFC North is going to have to look out for. I feel like that's the one dark horse team.
It's also just a fun, good vibes team. It's just a fun team. It's a very fun team to watch. Like, I think as far as fun teams to watch, they're up there with the Lions for me.
Especially coming from an Ohio State fan, it's one of the best teams to watch.
Yeah, you just feel validated.
Oh, yeah.
I hated on Stroud so much.
All the Ohio State quarterback conversations go to bed.
Yeah, that's true. They've been using the Diary of a Wimpy Kid scene when he.
Wait till Justin Fields come back and he's a baller too.
I'm a big Fields guy. I'm still a believer.
Me too. Me too.
Still a believer.
Give him a coach.
I agree. Give him a coach.
I'm not a big Ryan Poles GM fan either, but
Not a Ryan Poles guy.
No.
I was thinking.
Ashamed of some of the Ryans out there.
No doubt. I thought for sure he was going to make a couple more moves at the deadline. Man. Speaking of the Bears, Ryan Poles just getting Montez, completely unrelated to the AFC North. Montez Sweat just got a bag. He got this lineman for the Bears that they just traded for. 4 years, $98 million, is getting paid more annually than Myles Garrett.
See, I think this is a terrible move, because that is a move that like the Seahawks make. That is a move for a team that is making a playoff push and wants to take the next step and be better. That is not a move for a team that's in a rebuild.
Certainly agree.
It's a completely – I mean, Montez Sweat, quality player, but that's not where your team is at.
Totally agree.
That it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. So.
Quality player in Montez Sweat, but for getting paid more than Myles Garrett, I don't know how fond I am of that.
Yeah.
Got a little extra money.
And like maybe if let's say he's so impactful, he wins you one more game. Great, you got 6 wins on the year. I mean, like the Bears are probably going to win 4 to 6 games this year.
What blows my mind even more is they won't pay their star corner in Jalen Johnson, who's been balling out this year, but they'll pay a guy like Montez Sweat that hasn't even been in the building $100 million.
It's crazy.
Like
It's questionable antics over in Chicago.
Blows my mind.
Let's talk about throw Roby a bone here. Big shutout win over the Cardinals last week. So how do the Browns look forward for what has been the best team in the AFC North this year, the Baltimore Ravens?
I mean, we got to go back and watch the last game we played against them at home. One, we have an actual starting caliber quarterback this time, which means our head coach won't give up at the beginning. So that would be a great start for them. But I think this game is winnable. We just have to go in with that same defensive mindset that we go into every game. And Deshaun has to come out and play like he's been playing these last 2 healthy games he's had. With all of those things, if that can happen, we have a great shot coming out there with a win.
Ryan, obviously, big Steelers guy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We got a big one against the Packers this week.
I think that should be a win for you guys. The Packers have been floundering.
I hope so.
Here's the thing with the Steelers, though. Every week, my dad's a Steelers fan, so I watch some Steelers. Every week, game starts, and you're like, oh my gosh, how is this our record?
Me too.
What is this? How do we do this? The game goes on. 4th quarter comes in. Wait, we're gonna win this. Oh my gosh, we won. And that's every week for a Steelers fan at the moment. Am I wrong?
No, you're completely right. I go in and for about the first and the second quarter, I want to turn the TV off and throw my TV remote at the TV, throw my TV in the garbage. But then I keep on sitting there. And then the ball bounces our way. We get the ball back with like 7 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. We look like you would have thought it's a completely new team out there. And we go last week we literally went 92 yards, and I haven't remembered us done that in forever. We went 92 yards in the 1st quarter or in the 4th quarter and scored. So how do we do it? I don't know, but it somehow just happens every week.
I think Mike Tomlin just out game plans pretty much every coach. I think he's the top tier of coach. And I think Pittsburgh's completely lucky to have him. I think he's the reason they stay so consistent. But I got to give credit to Kenny Pickett. Pretty average or below average first 3 quarters of the game. 4th quarter, he decides he's a top 10 quarterback.
No doubt.
If you only watch Kenny Pickett in the 4th quarter, I want to see somebody put highlights together. 4th quarter Kenny Pickett and the rest of the game Kenny Pickett, and just look at the difference in those highlights.
It's like a flip switch, man. It's like I'm a big Steelers fan, I'm a big loyal guy, but the first 3 quarters I want Kenny Pickett gone. I want him off my team, and then 4th quarter he makes a throw that you see. It was a throw on the outside to Deontay last week. It was like for a 30-yard game. Pickens was double, but throw it right in the bucket. So yeah, it's just
you start crying and yell, "That's my quarterback."
Just about, yeah. I was fully back on the train. I feel like Kenny Pickett might win the Super Bowl MVP after the 4th quarter, but
I do think that'd be an interesting team to sneak into the playoffs because it's like if you're in a 1-score game with them in the 4th, yeah. I'm like there's a chance Steelers win this.
Steelers might win that. Yeah, I agree. I feel. To be honest with you, and this might, get some people, I feel confident getting Miami, and I'll take Jacksonville again. I feel like we got in a couple bowls.
Oh, I definitely think the Steelers Steelers-Dolphins would be such an interesting game for me because it's the battle of 2 opposite teams.
No doubt, offensive versus defensive.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're either getting beat 40-0 or winning 20-17. No in between.
Yeah.
No in between.
You're gonna have to bring out the Boz, sink the game winner.
That's right. Yeah, he has 6 field goals on the game, but
best offensive player.
We'll see. That's right. He is.
The game I'm waiting for this week is this Texans-Bengals game. 2 Ohio State quarterbacks who have both been great. I'm excited to see how this game goes. I think there could be some fireworks in that game.
I got to be honest with you guys. I think the Bengals are completely back. And I was waiting to say it. I got to see them beat the Bills. Watched them last week. My beginning of the year Super Bowl prediction. This was before we created this pod, all that. I chose on my own podcast Bengals over Lions. And they called me a madman for putting the Lions that far. But anymore, it's not looking too bad.
I'm gonna come out and say a little bit something a little bit crazy, but I still think the Bengals are frauds. I think Josh Allen had a bad week this week. I think Brock Purdy did not. He played like the last pick in the draft the last couple of weeks. I genuinely think, like, getting these AFC North games, they will not be blowing people out like that. It'll just be the same punching bag like it always is.
Now, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's this thing going around Reddit, Instagram, of the Super Bowl logos picking the two teams in the Super Bowl.
Oh, I've seen this. Yeah. I've seen that.
And we know what the colors are this year.
It's
the Ravens purple and the 49ers red.
Or that could be Chiefs red and Minnesota Josh Dobbs purple.
Next year it's going to be black and yellow. That's all I know.
Just black and yellow. It's only going to be
that's
the
right.
Steelers in the Super Bowl.
That's right. Yep.
It's just the Steelers playing the practice squad.
The other team's going to forfeit.
It's just Kenny Pickett versus Mason Rudolph returning.
Team's going to forfeit, yeah.
Is Rudolph still on the squad?
He is.
That's terrible.
Third quarterback.
Oh, my gosh. I hate watching.
I don't know why he still has a job.
Couple people were actually asking him to start.
No.
If he played, if Mitch was going to have a chance.
Let him play the Browns game.
They were deciding between, because I'm going to be honest, guys. Mitch was really bad. So we were watching Mitch play, and it wasn't good. He wasn't seeing coverages. It wasn't good. So after that, Kenny Pickett was hurt. We didn't know if he was going to play on Thursday night, and there was a big controversy between Steelers fans if Rudolph was going to get the start or Mitch was going to get the start. There was a good hand that wanted Rudolph to start.
Those are the Steelers fans that should just be like completely excommunicated from the fan base. Come on, man, that's terrible. That's awful. But Roby, do you think? I don't think Niners Ravens is really in the cards. I think at this point, I think if you told me that like 2 weeks ago, I'd be like, oh yeah. But anymore, I'm a big Brock Purdy, big Shanahan fan, but I don't think this Niners team has the juice.
Yeah, they just got Chase Young for a bag of potato chips. I don't know about that.
I think it's very much so in the cards. Will that happen? I don't know. I can't speak to that. But I think the 49ers, once they get healthy again, they have a greatest shot as anyone in the NFC to make it all the way with how star-studded that roster is and with that head coach. I don't see too many other teams other than like the Eagles, maybe.
Sleeping on them Lions, man.
The Lions can be a dark horse.
Those good vibes teams sometimes go on crazy playoff runs.
They do. I would love to see a Detroit-Cleveland Super Bowl. I think the
world peace would happen.
The world wouldn't know what to do with the Cleveland-Detroit Super Bowl. I would love to see that. Will it happen? Probably not.
I do want to shout out real quick Clayton Tune. Just prayers to him, because imagine your first ever NFL start is versus Myles Garrett.
It's a tough one, man. It's tough to be put on that Cardinals roster who doesn't really have anyone and go into a stadium and be expected to win that game. So that's just a tough situation.
Or just be expected to get hit by Myles Garrett. I mean, I don't really even like getting pushed around by normal guys in the post playing basketball. I couldn't imagine taking a sack from the Incredible Hulk.
I'd be in the ER for a month.
I would be I'd be like, look, don't start me. This is a great job. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. I can't do it. I'm not. My life is worth more than this game.
I'd be injured on the first play.
Let me go sit back on the bench, man.
It's like, just sit me. You guys want to put me on an XFL squad? That's cool. At least I'll still have a working neck.
Exactly. Let me P squad. Let me just watch from the practice all week. Prepare with the team, and then just sit on the bench.
Yeah,
and then I'm good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Some of those dudes are big in the NFL, especially AFC North. You got some big dudes in there.
I mean, this Ravens defense, I think the Ravens have a really underrated defensive core at the moment. That team's been rolling too.
Kenny Pickett diced them apart. But
That's true. That's true.
We will have to see. It was incredible performance by Kenny Pickett against the Ravens.
How many points did you put up on them again?
17.
Yeah,
George
That's like a Steelers high for this year.
George Pickens owns the Ratbirds. That's all I know.
George Pickens. He's a dog.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to get him the ball this week.
I would say that is one of the coolest, quarterback to wide receiver connection.
Pickens?
Pickett to Pickens.
Yeah, it's nice. It flows off the tongue for sure.
It is nice.
We need to
Too bad it
Pickens
doesn't
the
come
ball
out
more.
too many
That's right.
times.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. Happens in the first quarter. Does not happen in the first three.
All right, I want to ask you guys, we got two more questions here, so I'm going to ask you this one first. Who do you guys think, we're over halfway through the NFL season, who is the MVP? If you, not just for the first half, but who do you think by the end of the year will be MVP? Because at the first, think we all felt like it was trending towards Tua, and now over time that's kind of faded out. Personally, I would say Lamar Jackson for me. He's having the best season of his career, in my opinion. He currently leads the league in the most completions for passes over 10 yards, which you wouldn't, people used to dog on his passing ability, and he's completely shattered that. This is the healthiest he's been since 2019, his last MVP season, and this is the best Ravens team I think he's ever had. I watched Lamar in 2019. I watched him even more this year. I'm telling you, this is the best he's ever played, and he's playing at an elite quarterback level. And this is the only time I've ever felt in his career that he's got a Super Bowl opportunity.
Yeah.
Because even in 2019, I didn't think they were winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Derrick Henry was dominant that year. So
yeah. Well, that just felt like a Chiefs year. It felt like the Chiefs were gonna go that year because they didn't go the year before.
No doubt. And I'm gonna have to go throw up after I say this, but I feel like Lamar is a great pick. I feel like it's gonna be Joe Burrow. That dude has been balling.
You think Joe's gonna win MVP?
That dude has been balling the last couple of weeks.
I hope you just named two of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, so I'm happy with this.
I'm gonna go throw up in the corner after saying that, but I think it's gonna be Joe Burrow. I hope it's Jalen Hurts, but I feel Joe Burrow's been balling.
Roby?
Yeah, I think this MVP race is real tight this year. There's not like a clear-cut guy, but like Pat Mahomes has been balling, but I do think Lamar Jackson is a great take. I just feel like it's a little bit late for Burrow with his first few starts in the early of the season. I know he was injured, but those I think will come back to bite him.
Yeah, I think in order to win it, they would have to win that division to put him over Lamar.
Yeah.
They still got have they played the Ravens yet this year? I don't think they've.
No, I don't. I think that goes on next week.
Shots at them, and I think they got more than a chance to get them. So.
All right. Well, that brings me to the final question. Once Roby tells me, Roby, you want to tell me real quick when the Bengals play the Ravens?
Oh, you had it down there.
They
so
did.
they already played. That's
did.
right. They did play. Okay.
Ravens
they played
squeaked
week 2.
out a win by 3.
That was in
They
Cincinnati,
played,
by the way. In
Wow.
Cincinnati. So.
Hey, props to the Cincinnati fans. You see what they did for Sunday Night Football where they had a stripes? That was awesome. That was awesome. Props to those fans.
Cool. So it looks like they got the Ravens have the Browns at home, then they get the Bengals at home. So they got two huge. The Ravens got 2 huge games coming up here.
I'm calling for the Browns fans to do a brown out. I think that would look really funny. Everybody in brown.
The orange sheets and the brown shirts.
Yeah.
That could work. That could work.
The brown out. I think I know what Cleveland fans would end up saying it looks like, but we'll keep that off air for now.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, so last question. We're over halfway through the year. Who would you say is the Super Bowl favorite, in your opinion? You had to pick a team today to win the Super Bowl. Who are you picking?
If you guys aren't going to let me say the Steelers, the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl.
You can say Steelers.
I'm a big Eagles guy.
I'm fine with you saying Steelers. Can you live with you saying Steelers?
I'm a big Eagles guy. Big Eagles guy. Big Eagles. I like the Eagles. The Eagles are probably my second favorite team. I love Jalen Hurts. Still so disappointed the Steelers somehow drafted Chase Claypool over Jalen Hurts. I'm still crying. Still tear up every night to this day.
That's an underrated thing no one talks about. That's true.
We missed. There was a couple guys that went right after us, a couple of studs. Jalen Hurts. I love Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown. Right now, best receiver in football. A.J. Brown is the best receiver in football.
Wow.
Right now, if you watch the stats, you got Devontae Smith out there, that O-line. You could push 3 times every drive, and you could literally go down the field and score. I mean, it's unbelievable how well that make that work. My pick is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Should Jason Kelsey be an MVP candidate?
My goat. He was actually a finalist for Sexiest Man Alive.
I did see that.
He should
That's
be the
cool.
sexiest.
What a legend. I wish he would have won. I would have lost it.
Yeah, that was cool. You can't give it to the center, but what they do with the tush push is absolutely crazy.
You know what's funny about
times.
Jason Kelsey? If they gave him the MVP, I'm willing to bet lots of money he would be like, no. Because he famously, as a New Heights listener, pretty big fan of the podcast they run, he's talked before about the NFL Top 100, and Travis was like, hey, you were ranked here. And he's like, yeah, O-linemen shouldn't be ranked. He's like, we're not that important. And I always think it's funny, like one of the best, when people say name an O-lineman, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, like the first two in pretty much most people's minds. And for Browns fans, probably Jedrick Wills, just because of
Stud.
Roby's face. No, but everybody knows him, and yet he doesn't want the credit. So I always think it's interesting about Jason Kelsey. Roby, what do you say?
I would love to see a Browns Super Bowl win. If everyone can stay healthy, it's a possibility in the cards? Will it happen? 99% not. So other than that, I do like the Eagles take. I would love to see them actually come back and win one, and let Jason go off on top. Watching that documentary of him after he lost the Super Bowl with his family was crazy to me. Being able to control his emotions enough to go straight back home and put a smile on his face with his girls was just amazing. He's one of the best guys in the league. Deserves a ring and be able to go out on top.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree. Huge Jason Kelsey fan. I gotta admit to you guys, I'm gonna be the bearer of bad news. Realistically,
I don't want to hear Ravens or Bengals.
I'm not even gonna say Bengals. I'm saying at this moment, when it comes to playoffs, I'm probably gonna take the Bengals to win it. When January comes, we have a pod. I'll probably say Bengals. But right now, on November 8th, 2023, I'm going to take the Chiefs, guys. This is the best defense Mahomes has ever had behind him. And offensively, even though this is probably the worst receiving core he's ever worked with, it doesn't matter. Travis Kelce's still the best tight end in the league. And there's a real chance we see Chiefs, Eagles back-to-back Super Bowls.
Doesn't matter how good you are. It's about when you heat up. And Patrick Mahomes always seems to heat up at the right time. So.
Yeah. I mean, he is
Nick Wright right now.
I'm just saying, guys. I'm being honest. I watch it football all day Sunday, and I watch the Chiefs, and I'm like, yeah, it's going to be a tough team to beat.
No doubt. Patrick Mahomes is a tough quarterback to beat.
As long as they have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, they'll always be a tough team to beat.
But on the opposite end, maybe Travis goes out on top. He's older than you guys think. He's like 33.
He is getting up there.
And, he takes a lot of hits.
No doubt. Those linebackers are not small.
He still has a lot of juice left, though.
Those linebackers are not small.
But maybe we could see Andy be done. Maybe Coach Reed.
Potentially. Yeah. Would depend on the amount of cheeseburgers he's offering.
Yeah, let's see. He's celebrate big old cheeseburger.
Big cheeseburger guy.
Huge cheeseburger guy. I think Burger King is missing out on an excellent marketing opportunity.
Absolutely.
They should have him sing the Whopper Whopper song. Oh, that would be banging.
Yeah. Give him free Whoppers for life.
But yes. Pringles are missing out on a great marketing campaign with his mustache.
That's true too. That's very true. That's a good call, Roby.
We'll have marketing deals in another podcast.
Yeah, that'll be that. We're coming up. We're gonna have a whole episode that's just us pitching best athletes for different ads. For all the marketing majors, we're gonna bring them in. We're gonna
don't try to steal that from us, Andy Reid.
I need credit at least. He can do it all he wants.
Yeah, as long as he credit us.
Yeah, just give us a little bit of the.
We need a percentage.
Yeah, just a little percentage deal. I think that's it for the discussion. Thank you, Roby. Thank you, Ryan. I think we're looking at going bi-weekly is currently the plan. And Ryan did an interview with Sport Management Club President Ryan Gorman. So we're going to shift it over to that.
All right, everyone. This is the Baldwin Wallace Sports Management Podcast. We are very, very honored to have Mr. Ryan Gorman, the president of Sports Management Club. Ryan Gorman, how are we doing today?
Friday. Every Friday is a great day.
That's right. It is Friday. Ryan Gorman always loves this Friday. So, Mr. President, first, I want to tell me about yourself. Tell me what you do, where you're from. Kind of give me a little background on yourself.
Absolutely. So I'm from Steubenville, Ohio, which is about 2 hours from Cleveland. And currently a junior, but I'm going to graduate this year. Sport management major, entrepreneurship minor. I worked with Travis Kelce's agency and BMG Sports. Been on the Super Bowl trips. Been on the national championship trips. Kentucky Derby, Duke. List goes on.
Man, a lot of trips Gorman been on. He been on all of them. So we all aspire to be Gorman one day. But what we were talking about your presidency as the Sports Management Club. Tell me about your role, what you do, and kind of what you do for the club, and why you do it why do you do it?
Yeah. So like you said, this year I got named president of Sport Management Club. My job is basically to be in charge of the club, kind of run it. Dr. Campese, Professor Dick, Dr. Sheptak, Dr. Lyons, they all give me kind of free reins. I look to them as mentors. And that my role basically entails looking over my other board members, making sure that, we have everything in line. They do a great job. They make my job very, very easy. They're always on top of things, always asking questions. just get the meetings ready. Bi-weekly, we have meetings. We always try and make them very productive. We don't want to waste anyone's time. We know that time is valuable. Other than that, just helping getting the trips ready. Really, whatever Dr. Campese asks, and if students come to us with suggestions, we always try to do our best to put those in place.
No doubt, no doubt. I don't think anyone really sees how much goes on behind the scenes. So me from the sports management program, we appreciate you, Ryan. Ryan's been a great president for us this year. He's done a lot for us, put in a lot of hard work. So we appreciate you. But I'm going to backtrack here for a second. I want to hear about your favorite trip as a Baldwin Wallace student and why, and kind of what you did on that trip.
So I would say I've been to 2 Super Bowls, and I'm planning on going to this one in Vegas. But I would say last year's Super Bowl was probably the best trip I've ever been on. Just because the first year was in LA. I was kind of just like starstruck, kind of like didn't even feel real. This time I got to like enjoy it. Not that I didn't enjoy the first one, but this time I had a bigger role. I had to take care of one of on location who we work for. I had to take care of like one of their biggest clients, so I felt pretty good to take care of him. He treated me very well, and so does on location. They take care of us. Basically, I was just walking them to their seats, which were like 4 rows up from the 50-yard line on the Eagles sideline. Whatever they needed, in the third quarter, I had to get their Sprinter van ready for them after the game. So I had to leave the stadium, come back in. Was doing all kinds of things, but that was probably my favorite trip. It was like the most meaningful. I got a lot out of that trip. We did, I believe it was Mario Olson. We did that luncheon, and you saw all the Hall of Famers, the new guys, the old guys, Jerry Jones, Dan Marino.
Yeah.
Literally anyone you can think of. And some of those guys took their time to sit down and talk with us. So it was, last year's Super Bowl was meaningful. Every trip's amazing. Every trip's my favorite, but if I had to choose one, it'd probably be last year's Super Bowl.
Yeah. Can't really beat on the Super Bowl. Do you have a favorite moment from that trip? Whether it was, like a dinner for one night, or was it just being at the game that year?
Just being at the game. I mean, I was just so close. Because at one point my client was like, "Hey, why don't you just stay down here for a little bit? Like, we're good for a while." So got to watch the whole fourth quarter, whole halftime from like basically on the field. I mean, 4 rows up. It was very close. That was probably my favorite moment, to just kind of soak it in, like look around, see what's going on.
Not a bad gig, is it? Not a
Not
bad
at
gig
all.
to be helping guys at the 50-yard line on the Super Bowl, huh?
Not too bad.
Gorman, I know you're super busy. We got 2 more for you today. My first one is, if I'm a prospective student and I'm looking at colleges, why would I come to Baldwin Wallace for sports management? What's something that you could tell me that, okay, I'm definitely going here after I hear this piece of advice, or maybe something that Dr. Campese told you in the past that's like, okay, this is the reason I came here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it showcases every week. Like, we just had a recruit come in it was this week in Dr. Campese's class, and he left the room and just had us talk with the potential student and his mom, and we were just firing away at him like, "This is why you should come here." We listed off, like, it felt like 100 things on why you should come here. I mean, personally, why I came here was originally for football. And then I sat down in Professor Dick's office, and what I thought was going to be like a 5-minute, "Hey, I'm Ryan, coming here. Oh, okay, nice to meet you," turned into 2 hours, just like on a random day in summer. Like, he was in Professor Dick, he's always in his office, doors always open. You can always go in, talk to him about anything. The meaningful relationships that you get here, people say, "Oh, at Division III, like, it's not too many times where you can call your professor the cell phone. It's not too many times that you can email them and they're getting right back to you in seconds. It's not too many times that you can go in there and just talk about whatever's on your mind, or, if you have an idea, they'll come help you." And our location, I mean, 15, 20 minutes from Cleveland, you have the Cats, the Guardians, the Browns. Like, I'd say, geez, we have over 100 people working on game day with the Browns, and we have people working for the Cavs, alumni, students. Same thing with the Guardians. Like, you just can't beat the location. There's a lot to do here, a lot of people to meet, a lot of people to see. And I feel like it's more meaningful than maybe like a Division I program, because You kind of have to earn your way up. And this way, I'm not saying that you don't have to earn your way up, but it's a lot easier if you put in the work.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like you said, the connections and the opportunities years are crazy, but I think the personability of everyone, like being able to come and everyone's kind of on the same level. No one feels higher. There's no egos here, so I definitely agree with you.
I'd say when you get in your class, everyone puts their egos aside, and it's awesome. Like just planning for next semester or classes and stuff like that. Like you know who you're going to be in the class with. Like, oh man, I'm looking to be in class with Ryan Curry. I'm looking to be in class with Vinny LeMayo. Like you just know, like you know that you can always depend on them. If you have questions, you can ask them. Like you know who you're going to sit by. You know, I feel like some of these Division I programs, Division II. Not saying that they're bad again, but I'm saying, you know, you walk into a lecture hall full of 400 people, like you don't know all of them, and you might not even know one or two. So it's a lot easier to meet people and get to know them and gain new relationships.
I think that's something underrated about us, how like close knit all the not only the professor but students are. I feel like everyone's friends in that, so I think that helps out a lot.
Exactly.
One more last for you, Gorman, before I let you go. I want to ask, if I'm coming in as a freshman, as a BW sports management student, I don't know anything. My eyes are so bright from Campese telling me about Super Bowls and everything. What's one piece of advice you would give me coming into my freshman year?
I would say what I did and what other people do is talk to the people who are older than you. Don't be afraid to talk to the juniors and seniors. Like we were in your role literally a year or two ago. So, you know, we're not afraid to come talk to you, sit down with you, have a phone call with you, you know, stop in the hall, go grab lunch, whatever that may be. Like talk to the upperclassmen. Like they've been there before. They're the most recent that have been there. And then secondly, just, you know, go in the offices of the professor, say, hey, like, you know, one day I want to be a sports agent, or one day I want to work in the front office, whatever that may be. One day I want to work in marketing, digital marketing, whatever that is. Go in there, tell them that you have a goal, you have a path, and you're determined to work. And if you truly mean that and go do that, they're literally going to align your whole life up. Like it takes the most minimum effort to go in there, and they'll just line your whole life up. They'll put all your classes in for you. They'll introduce you to people, all kinds of different things. I would say just get involved, do something. I wouldn't say stay in your dorm, you know, just hang out with your friends. Like go meet new people. There's a lot of ways to get involved at a small college like Baldwin Wallace. Like just go out and do things.
Certainly agree. An amazing program led by none other than our president right here, Mr. Ryan Gorman. Hey, I appreciate your time today, Mr. Gorman. Thank you so much. We appreciate you having on. And this is episode 2. We're going to throw it back to our round table. But thank you so much, Mr. Gorman. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Appreciate it, Curry. Keep killing it, man.
Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 2 of the Sports Management Podcast. This is me, Ryan Curry. I have my friends Roby Bolin, Ryan Klinger. We will see you on the next episode, bi-weekly. Make sure to tune in, share with a friend, tell a friend, and we will see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.